You're listening to Keeping Up with the Knights, a podcast for the faculty and staff at Steele High School, allowing them to connect outside of the classroom. Teacher, coach, mentor, and speaker Michael Herrera, a past District Teacher of the Year, will sit down with fellow teachers and bring their stories to life. Sit back, relax, and enjoy these stories as they unfold on this episode of Keeping Up with the Knights.
Welcome back to another episode of Keeping Up with the Knights. For episode number 24, I get the honor to sit down and talk with Melissa Rountree. So thank you for taking time out of your day on a Friday when we could be grading and doing other things, but you're going to sit down and talk with me and chat for about 45, 50 minutes. So thank you, Melissa, for taking some time today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. So the beginning of every podcast, I start with what I call bell ringers. Bell ringers are just simply quick, get to know you type questions that I try to model in a podcast form, which teachers can then do in the classroom. I think ultimately it's important that we get to know our kids. We build relationships with kids. And by asking simple, shallow-ended questions, you can really get to know each other. So, Melissa, question number one for you, I start off with the same. If you could go back in time and high-five yourself for something that you did, what would you go back in time and high-five yourself for and why?
Ooh, that's a good question. Gosh, honestly, probably just going back and getting my master's, even though I haven't used it yet.
Anybody in your family have a master's degree?
No.
So you were the first?
I'm the first.
All right. High five to you, because we share that in common. See, I never knew that about you, and I was the first one in my family to get my master's.
Awesome.
So there you go. All right. Question number two for you. If you could play the role of any movie star or any movie character, who would you be?
Oh, I would be Jennifer Aniston. And I would probably be in, I don't know which movie though. Let me think. It'd have to be a funny one.
Would you be in a movie or would you be in Friends?
Oh, I think it'd be awesome to be in Friends. Friends would probably be the best. That's a good answer.
My all-time favorite TV show. And I would have to probably say Jennifer Aniston's probably up easily in my top 3 of celebrity crushes.
Yeah, she's beautiful.
So, yeah. All right. So question number 3 for you. What is one thing that you could go back? So I mentioned what would you go back and high-five yourself for? But if you can go back in time and whisper something to yourself at any moment in your life, what would you say?
I hate to say it, but I probably would have chosen a different path.
Yeah?
Not totally a different path. I love teaching, but I probably would have done something a little bit different. I probably would have been a doctor.
That's awesome. See, again, that's why I love doing these kind of questions, because Melissa, I'm sure maybe we have, maybe we haven't, but that was my ultimate dream. My ultimate dream was to be in the NBA, of course, as a basketball player, but I mean, that's not going to happen, right? But I still wanted to be in the NBA as a team physician.
Absolutely.
That's why I went to college. I went to the University of Tulsa to major in sports medicine. I got my master's degree and then thinking, okay, I'm going to go to medical school. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to spend the next 12 years of my life doing this. So, I don't regret it though, because I really do love teaching and coaching. But yeah, definitely, like Ms. Cervantes asked me, what would you do if you weren't doing this? I'm like, I'd be in medical school and I'd be a physician somewhere. So yes. What kind of physician? It's not one of your 5 questions, but what kind of physician would you be?
I would be at first I always thought pediatric physician, but now later in life, I think I would truly probably be an orthopedist.
Okay. All right, good. I love doing these questions. All right. Favorite movie of all time?
Anything funny? I love Wedding Crashers.
Okay. That's a good one. So you like the comedies?
I do.
You like to escape when you get home and watch something funny that'll make you laugh?
Yes, I do.
And you have an infectious laugh, so I can see that. All right, last question for you is, I hope you're not boring, but what's your favorite cereal?
Oh my gosh, I'm boring. It's
you are
Raisin
boring.
Bran.
Raisin Bran.
I don't really eat cereal. The only one that I ever eat is Raisin Bran.
Okay, fair enough. All right, your turn. Shoot away.
Okay, my first question, what's your biggest fear?
my biggest fear was not having children. And that was a real fear. There's no reason why that I should have had that fear, because as a Christian believer, it's not up to me, it's up to him.
Right.
But you talk to yourself and you tell yourself these things and they become your truth. So I fear not being a father, but let's go a little different route to answer your question. I'm not scared of like spiders and snakes and stuff, but that doesn't mean that I want to be in a room full of them or have to do some kind of like Amazing Race contest where I've got to like sit in this like cubicle plexiglass thing full of them. No, I'm good. I'm dipping out.
I agree. 100%. I can rescue one and move it away, but I'm not going to be in a bucket with them. No.
Yep.
Not at all. Okay. Second question. What would your dream vacation be?
Other than going back to Greece, which I posted on Facebook a couple of days ago, I would go back to Greece in a heartbeat. But for me, it's any place that's quiet. I love hustle and bustle. Like I would love to go to Vegas, not because I like to gamble, but because of all the people and the lights and the noise, and just I love to people watch and socialize and have fun in the environment of a party. But for vacation wise, like I'm picking somewhere that's remote, quiet, serene, nice atmosphere, ambiance, sunsets, beach, maybe some water, but just somewhere that's just peaceful and quiet.
Sounds great. I agree.
Nowhere in particular, but just, I mean, some hopefully maybe exotic place, or like even in like, you know, people always ask like mountains or beach, right? To me, I don't care. They're equal to me because they can both be peaceful and quiet.
Definitely.
Right. So in the Alps somewhere, or like on a beach where like the next closest person's like 2 miles that way.
That's right. Tahiti sounds great.
Yeah.
Out in the middle of nowhere. What's your biggest motivation or motivator?
Ooh, good question. Oh man, that's a good one. I have not had that now in 24 episodes. What's my biggest motivator? The first thing that comes to mind. Well, let me answer it 2 ways. One, being a Christian motivates me to always be an example. And what I really want to say, what is my motivating factor? It's being that person for my kids.
Definitely.
Modeling, being a husband, being a father, just, you know, we're not perfect as parents, and I'm never going to try to be, and I screw up. And there's times when I'm like, oh, why did I yell at Jackson? Or, you know, but ultimately I hope in the end, I'm going to teach my kids how to be respectful and courteous and just be good kids.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I agree. Okay. What's your favorite karaoke song? If you were going to sing karaoke, what would you sing?
God dang it. So I used to sing a lot of karaoke in college. I'm trying to think of the song right now. Like you stumped me because it's Garth Brooks. I'm going to have to come back to that. Hopefully it comes back to me. But I like country music. I think just because of maybe a little bit of the deeper voice that I might have, it kind of lends itself towards that. I don't think many people sing Christian music at karaoke bars. But those are like easy for me to sing, but it'd probably be a country song, you know, just some old, you know, good country song.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. And I think I probably already know the answer to this one, but what's your proudest accomplishment in life?
Man, I'm going to wrap it up with the first question that you asked about fears. Biggest accomplishment is overcoming that fear and then being blessed with 2 kids. Cause that, you know, even before I met Courtney, I wanted to be a dad. I wanted to be a father. I wanted to have kids. I come from a big family. So definitely a major, major accomplishment.
Gotcha. Perfect.
That's your 5?
That's my 5.
All right. So let's do this. I always like to start off by giving you a chance to just talk about your childhood. Like, where did you grow up? Where is Melissa Rountree from? Just a little bit about your upbringing, you know, family environment, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles. Did you live on a farm? Did you live in the city? Did you run up and down the block playing sports? Like, just kind of take us through so that we know, you know, what you were like as a kid.
Okay. I grew up in the small town of Levelland, Texas, which is about 25 miles west of Lubbock, Texas. Lived in Texas my whole life, never moved out. I have 2 brothers. I am the middle child. They're 6.5 years older and 6.5 years younger.
All right.
So we spread quite pretty far. My parents were married until the day my mom died. So I had a good example in marriage and making it through all the tough things in life. My 2 brothers gave me a hard time, so I think I'm pretty tough. I'm little, but I can handle myself.
Tiny but mighty.
That's right.
That's
right.
what my mom always used to say, tiny but mighty.
That's a good descriptor. I like that. As far as what I did, I was very active. I drove my mom crazy. You would think having 2 boys that I would be the one that probably was the calmest, but that's absolutely not the truth. I was everywhere doing everything. I played every sport. If it was the season, I was playing. I was basketball, volleyballs. I never played soccer. We weren't allowed to play soccer. I was a gymnast. That was actually where my heart was. That's what I was the best at. So I think, what else did I do? Ran. I loved to run. I was a sprinter until I got older and realized that I could run long distance.
Yeah.
I always thought I had to do everything fast. And so when I would run long distance, I still ran fast, and it was like, this is terrible.
Yep.
But once I got older and realized I don't have to be the fastest, I can just run my race.
So what was your race?
What was my race? I ran the 200.
Okay.
200 was my favorite. I ran the 800 meter relay, and I ran the 200. I did long jump and triple jump.
Okay. All right. It's funny that you say that too, because Courtney, when her and I were first married, within a couple of years, we would go out and jog and run together. And I was a marathon runner before she was, and she would never, ever go out for a long run with me. And this was back when we lived off of 1604 and 281. And I would join a marathon group and go out and run 10, 15 miles. And she would stay asleep. And by the time I got home, she was just barely waking up, right? Well, then we decided to start running together. And she's like going way past me, like, and booking it. And I'm like, I'm having a hard time keeping up with her. And she's like, but isn't this what running is? And I was like, no. It's not a competition. Like, you want to sustain this for long periods of time.
Yeah.
She just didn't understand it. And that's why she hated running so much, because she felt like she had to sprint it and run it as fast as possible. So
I totally understand how she felt, because it took me forever to figure out that I could just kind of relax and run. And I always looked at people that were jogging and thought, that's ridiculous. What a waste of time. Like, if I'm going to go, I'm going to get there fast.
yes, you're exactly right. All right. So growing up in Levelland,
Yes.
Did you go elementary, middle school, high school out there?
I did. My elementary, I walked to school every day. My elementary was right down the block from me, just a small little elementary. And then we had a middle school, and then junior high, and then high school, all in Levelland. But everything was spread out. I mean, it's a small town, but it's about 15,000 people.
Yeah. Did you ever have to like dodge tumbleweeds on your way to school?
All the time. I was good at
Did
dodging.
one ever catch you?
Yes.
Yes,
I've been hit with tumbleweeds.
Did they leave marks on you?
Yes, they'll leave whelps.
Oh, man. I'll
Most
never
definitely.
forget that, being in Lubbock and dodging tumbleweeds the size of my vehicle on 289.
That's the
I
scary.
really thought that I was like on a real life episode of like Frogger or something like that. Just speeding up, slowing down, moving to the left lane. And I was like trying to like dodge them on my way to work on Loop 289 in Lubbock.
Yes.
Never forget that. And the whole
And then the wind would change directions, and you would end up with it right against your car.
crazy times. All right. So let's go to like high school. Kind of like obviously you were a runner. Were you a cheerleader? Did gymnastics? Like what did you do? And then kind of take me in the process of like up to senior year when you were trying to make a decision to go to college.
Okay. I was a gymnast my whole life. From 4 years old on, I was a thumb sucker. That's a terrible thing to admit. I was a thumb sucker, but my parents, my mom always knew that she could bribe me with anything. So she bribed me and said, if you will stop sucking your thumb, you can start gymnastics. Because all my cousins, I have a bunch of girl cousins on one side, they were all in, and that's all I wanted to do. So she said she came in that night, and I was pulling my thumb away. I wouldn't suck my thumb like all night long. I never sucked my thumb. So she signed me up for gymnastics the next day. I did that forever: tumbling, trampoline, double mini, and gymnastics. And they didn't have that at my high school. So actually, I played basketball until I tried out for cheerleader. And in our little tiny district, which it was a 4A, but you weren't allowed to do both. Our coach, we had Dean Weiss, was an amazing basketball coach, but he wouldn't allow you to be a cheerleader and play basketball. So I had to give up basketball, and I cheered because, of course, I was a gymnast. So that was the closest thing there was to it in high school. So I cheered all through high school and ran. And as far as getting up to school, I was more concerned with academics, to be honest. I did play and I enjoyed life, but I was really focused and determined to be one of the best. So I worked hard and made it to my senior year, graduated in the top 5 of my class, and not the top 5%, but I was the 5th in my class, which
That's awesome.
I worked for.
Yeah.
So I really could have gone to any school I wanted to. And I knew I went to nursing school. I started off at nursing school at South Plains College in Levelland, Texas.
Okay.
And I got into nursing school and decided once we started clinicals, we were trying to think which nursing home it was, in a nursing home. And I had just programmed my mind to think, well, RNs don't do this. RNs don't do that.
Yeah.
To my surprise, RNs do all of that. It's whoever's first on the scene. So I made it through my first year, and I changed my major because I just couldn't do. I was in the nursing home for an entire semester, I think, and that was it. I just decided I couldn't do all of the stuff that I needed to be able to do.
Yeah. So then, what'd you change your major to?
Well, I had a whole lot of biology credits at that point, so I changed it to biology and a minor in kinesiology.
Okay.
And I transferred to LCU, Lubbock Christian University.
Yep.
And graduated there in 2 years after that.
Okay. All right. Well, that's awesome. I love the fact that I don't think I ever knew that you started off as a nursing major, but it's always interesting to find out because most people always change their major at least once anyway.
Right.
I started off in sports med, athletic training, until I quickly realized how many hours I was going to have to put in with football.
Right.
Before practice, after practice, games. And I was like, no, I can't do this. And I switched to basically kines.
Right.
But all right. Sorry, it's these allergies in my nose, and those of y'all listening, it's like crazy pollen time. So Coach Herrera has a weird voice at the moment. But all right, let's go into becoming a teacher. So you graduated from LCU. Take us through kind of like, where was your mindset? Did you have your mind made up already to go into teaching, or did you get into, you did? Okay. So kind of take us through that.
Yeah. At that point I did, because I knew that I wanted a family. I knew that was my number one goal, that was to have kids and to have a career that I could spend time with my kids and not be at work all the time.
And you're 22 years old around at that time? I
started teaching at 21.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I got my, so I was offered an internship. So instead of doing a student teaching set, I started as an intern and got paid to student teach. And just from there, I've been teaching ever since.
Where was that?
I was in Meadow, Texas. It's right outside of Lubbock. I didn't even know where it was when I went for my interview. I had to find it on an old school map that you folded out, and it was the first time I'd ever been there, was when I went for an interview between Lubbock and Brownfield.
Wow.
It was tiny. It was a 1A school. I'd always been in a 4A school, pretty decent size. And all of a sudden I'm at this school that they're all connected. Like every school was connected together. And I had elementary PE that I taught, which was amazing. And we were on a block schedule. So I did elementary PE, and then I would go over to the junior high and teach 7th grade science. And then I would go to the high school and teach high school health and high school dance.
Crazy.
Yeah.
You know what? I get this picture of you like in a small little gym with all these little babies and all of them like chasing you, and you're just running around going crazy and having a fun time.
Oh, I did. I missed
I
it.
can totally see that. All right. So you started teaching there. And what steps along the way did you take before you got here?
So I taught there for 3 years, and then I got a call from my old principal at Levelland Junior High asking me if I'd like a job. So I went to Levelland Junior High and taught 7th and 8th grade science. I did that for 3 years. And then I got another call from a friend that was at a school in Lubbock at an elementary, and I interviewed for an elementary PE job. I spent 8 years at Haynes Elementary, and it was awesome. Like I love my job now, but as far as just fun, I had a blast.
Oh yeah.
I got my workout all day long. My kids were awesome. Like it was amazing. And I was there for 8 years. So by the time I left, I taught families. I didn't teach like 1 or 2 kids. I had the whole family. So I loved that. And then my husband got a job down here. So we moved, and there was an opening at Steele High School, and my end to Steele High School was a cheer coach. So I took the cheer coach job, and I've been here ever since.
So how many, once you complete this year, how many years here at Steele?
This is, I think I'll complete my 8th year. No. Yeah. 8th year.
Okay. And then how many total years in education?
23.
23. Atta girl.
23.
All right. You got 8 years on me. You're getting that much closer to retirement.
I am. I can kind of smell it.
7-ish?
A little bit.
How many years? 5, 7? How many?
Yeah, like six years left. I think 6.5.
All right. So this is my 15th. So I figured like I've done kind of like my 15, and now I'm kind of like, I'll do 15 more, so it's kind of downward now. So I can count down the years now.
That's right.
And that's if I retire at, you know what? I'll say this. Let me take that back. I hope and pray that I can retire as a teacher and a coach, and that I don't get burnt out or pushed away or, because my heart's in it. My intentions are pure. I love kids. I love teaching. I love the relationships that I get to form with these kids. And that's what it's all about. And I have to remind myself that when we have our bad days, when we get the emails from the parents or the kids don't want to do their work, why I'm here and what my purpose is, right? So I hope and pray that I can retire as a teacher and a coach. All right. So 23 years and 8 years at Steele High School. Well, let's kind of go there for just a second. A good segue into kind of what I just said about my purpose. What is your purpose? Like, what is your why? Why are you a teacher, and why have you now been doing it for 23 years?
Because I love my students. Like, I truly love my students. And the funny thing is, I don't even call them my students. I call them my kids. They're my kids. Yeah. And my family gets really disgusted with me sometimes because I feel like I may give too much of my heart to my kids, because I go home and I talk about them all the time, and I'm excited about what I do. And I try to make my family my students also, and try to teach them. I just love it. I love building those relationships with my students. And I feel like they don't always see that positive light in their day. And I try my best to be that positive light, to kind of build some kind of connection, to motivate them to be successful in life.
So you didn't get a degree in education, obviously. You got a degree in biology, and you got what'd you get your master's in?
I got my master's in educational administration.
Okay. So even with that, that's actually good that you have that. Were you ever taught in your master's about relationship building?
Gosh, it's been a while now since I did it. I'm
not talked about, because I'm sure it was, but were you ever taught?
I don't really remember no one's ever taught me how to build a relationship. I think
Isn't that crazy to think about, though?
Yeah.
And trust me, Melissa, you're the 24th interview that I've had, right? It's amazing how many conversations I've had with other teachers, and like you and I, that have in common with everybody else I've interviewed, everyone's why, because I asked that question precisely to everybody.
Right.
It's about the kids. It's about the relationships. I don't have a degree in education. I got my alternative certification, but I don't care if you did my route, your route, principalship, whatever.
Right.
There's no regular, there's no textbook, there's no course on relationship building with students, which means we are really good, authentic creators of relationships because we do it our way.
True.
I do it differently than you do.
Right.
But our results, I would imagine, is the same. I do things where, like, my kids write journals and I don't care about grammar. I don't care if they curse. I don't care. It's private. I read it. I respond to it, and I'm able to connect to them without ever having a conversation. What are some things that you do in your classroom? Is there anything that you do to particularly build relationships, or is it just kind of within the flow of teaching?
Oh, I start my year off building relationships. So I mean,
What's something that you do at the beginning of the year?
We do get to know you activities. I do a lot of get to know you in the first few weeks of the year to make sure that I get to know them. I do a lot of one-on-one with my students, trying to get to know them so I can learn their names, their face, and they know that they're important when they walk in my door. So
well, share that. Like, what do you do? Elaborate on that. What do you mean you do one-on-one? Like, literally, you sit down with
I sit down and have conversations I try to sit down and within the first week of school, sit down and have a conversation with each one of them individually.
Where do you do that?
In the back of my room. I'm blessed because I have a lab room. So I have private conversation areas where we can actually sit back and just kind of get to know you.
Do you have a series of questions, or you just kind of like go with the feel? Like,
I just kind of fill them out and kind of ask them, where they're from, what they've been doing, and just take the time to find out a little bit about them and how they ended up in anatomy and physiology, because that's definitely a choice to be in my class.
Yes. Yeah. I love that. I mean, to me, you're having little mini podcasts with your kids.
Yeah.
And that's the purpose. To me, the purpose behind this whole podcast, like I don't do this podcast to put it out there. I initially, when I made the decision to do something like this and get out of my comfort zone, was simply to have conversations with teachers. I mean, I know you, we've known each other for a while here, but I can't tell you everything about you, nor could you probably tell everything about me. It's just the purpose behind it is so that we can connect outside of the classroom.
Right.
We're never given this time.
That's true.
To learn who we work with.
True.
We know each other. We don't know everyone's name on campus. There's people I pass by every day and I'm like, good morning. Hey, how are you? And I have no idea what their name is.
Oh, yeah.
That's not okay. And my goal through this podcast is to hopefully interview everybody. And then all you have to do is interview the new teachers every year.
Sure.
And anybody can go back and say, I want to learn more about Melissa Rountree. Who is she? Where'd she grow up? Or, whatever. And it's the same thing that I try to do with my kids. Right. And the same thing that you try to do with your kids. Take an opportunity to get to know them. That's awesome. I'm definitely going to use that because we have the skills lab.
Right.
I think it'd be a good opportunity to privately have conversations like, when you get a little deeper, right? Like, is there anything that I should know?
Right. Yeah, we do. We do that. And I do a personal, like before I even go there, everybody gets like a Google assignment, a Google form that they fill out with those kind of questions. So they kind of are prepared before I ever sit down and talk to them. I don't tell them I'm going to sit down and talk to them, but they actually get to kind of conversate and let me know what they want me to know, even without having to speak sometimes as well.
I heard this on, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
If I see that, if they walk in, like you can read your students, you're having a bad day. So I always like, come tell me what's going on. Like, Tell me what's up. You're not yourself. Is there anything that you need? And they usually tell me more than I want to know. But I think that's important too. You've got to read them, make connections. You got to look at your students and really, really look at them. understand. And you can tell, like your own children, when you look in their eyes, you know if they're sick.
Yep.
You know if they're not feeling well. You know by their
Upset.
mannerisms. You know if they're upset, if they're sad. And so I really do. I don't necessarily get in personal, but I pull them in and they get personal.
Yes. No, absolutely. So I heard this on a podcast where a student said this to a teacher: why should I content with you when you haven't connected with me?
That's right.
And that's a very powerful statement coming from a kid. We have to do those connections, and you do it over time. You have to let those kids know. And you know what? Like, being a male teacher, you got a girl coming to my classroom. She's crying. Who knows? Her boyfriend just broke up with her or whatever, right? She's a drama queen. Who cares? She's a high school kid. She's a teenager. Let her be a drama queen. What does she want? She wants attention. Give it to her.
That's right.
Because ultimately, all that matters at the end of the day is that those kids that have outwardly way of expressing their need for attention, give it to them. Because now they know you care. I bet you they don't keep walking into your classroom like that. Now they're just going to go straight to your desk. Hey, coach, can I talk to you for a second? You have to give them that time of day. Just recognize. And when you were talking a little while ago, I don't mean to go spiritual at all, but I am a spiritual person. And I truly believe that it's a God-given gift to be able to visualize and see kids for who they are and the emotions and the things they go through. Because, Melissa, you and I know we share this in common, that we can see that right away when they walk into our room. But not every teacher is blessed with that idea and vision and perception that a kid's struggling, and they let that kid go sit down in the classroom, put their head down, cry, fall asleep, put their AirPods in or whatever, and they keep teaching.
Right.
You know good and well there's people here on this campus, and the purpose is not to put them on blast right now. The point is you have to first recognize what that kid looks like on a good day, what they look like on an average day, and what they look like on a bad day.
That's right.
And some of us are where we got blinders on, and all we see is the kid walking in that day. And it doesn't matter if they're in a good mood or bad mood, we still teach. I mean, I'm sure you've had days like this where you've had that kid come into your classroom and you've stepped outside in the hallway, you went in the back, and you literally talked to that kid probably the whole period. And you could care less about your lesson for that day, even though it's science and you got to get this and you got to do that. The kid is the most important part of your day in that moment at that time.
That's true.
Yeah. So anyway, I didn't mean to tangent there, but that's just my heart. And I think you can tell I'm pretty passionate about it. And I think people need to take more time to get to know their kids. All right.
Oh, I agree.
Next
You'll
question.
never have discipline if you get to know your kids and build relationships with them. You won't have to worry about discipline.
Discipline's not even in the vocabulary. It's just management. That's all it is.
You just build relationships, and then they just do their job.
Yep. And then we just hold each other accountable. Well, let's move on to the next question here. So all right, so you're in your classroom. How do you define success in your classroom, specifically you?
Me, like success with my students?
Yep.
Obviously, I look at it different ways. Of course, a wonderful grade is definitely successful to them, and that's what they think is the most important. But my success, I determine it more on our conversations and what they are able to ask, what they want to know, what they can tell me that they already know. I look more at than just at what they scored on the test, because that's a piece. That's a piece of what they can memorize and regurgitate for the most part. But really, the conversations that we have in the classroom discussions and labs where they can show me what they've learned and what they can do.
Individual growth. Which is different for every kid, right?
It is. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, success does not look the same for all my students. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
And it may be a high five for getting a 70 on a test, which is the highest score the kid's gotten all year. That's success.
Absolutely. Amen to that.
Would sound as success. Yeah.
That's right. No, absolutely. No. Yep. You have to celebrate that for those kids, because, it's like in athletics, we always talk about how, we might have straight A students and the kids that fail, they're the ones always doing the towel pushes and the punishments. But we hold the other kids to the same standard, because if you're straight A's and you get a B,
right,
that's equivalent to that kid failing a class or making a 74. So you got to hold everybody accountable.
Right.
Take you back to elementary, middle school, and high school. So no college. Who is a teacher that you will always remember? Is there a teacher that if I said, who is your favorite teacher of all time? Who is that individual? What made them so special for you?
I have several, but I think that's probably why ended up a teacher, is because I have a list of teachers. Miss Holcomb was my third grade teacher, and she was amazing. I was a very active, very busy person. And so I would finish my work and I would go crazy in class. Not go crazy, but I wouldn't sit still and just be quiet. So I would have to go out and do things. And I kind of got in trouble because I would be talking while everybody else is still working. So she set a goal for me to stop. Like every parent conference was always great, except for I couldn't be still and I couldn't be quiet. So she actually set this big goal for me, and I won a big award at the end of the year, and it was with her help because she taught me how to channel my energy. I can't remember what even the award was, but it was like it wasn't most improved, but it had to do with attitude and
right. Yeah.
behavior. Because I wasn't a behavior issue. I talked a lot. And
says the
everybody else was
cheerleader.
Yes. Yeah. So she stood out. And then also Miss Humphreys was my first grade teacher, and she was just amazing. Everything that she did was positive. She was tons of fun. And she's the one that got me excited about school.
That's awesome. All right. So in your opinion, what do you think makes a teacher an amazing person, amazing teacher? What qualities? What are some things that teachers have to do to be considered amazing?
To be amazing, they have to be motivators, and motivators of all, not just of some. They have to be compassionate. They have to listen and care, truly care about their students. They have to take the time to build relationships, because without a relationship, the kid, it's going to take a lot more motivation to get them to do what you want them to do. I think organization is necessary, because teaching, you've got so many tasks that you have to keep track of each day.
Very true.
Late work, grades here, grades there. And now with remote, it's gotten a lot different. But I think all of those things, and I think being an excellent communicator is extremely important when teaching, not just standing up and teaching in front of the crowd, because not anybody can do that. A lot of people can do that part. You can give a lecture,
right? But
it goes well beyond giving lectures. And I think the more I've learned in the last few years, I've kind of adapted my classroom, and it's more of it's student centered, and I'm kind of a sage on the stage.
Yeah.
I facilitate discussions, and I ask questions, and they ask me questions, but I don't just stand up and lecture about something for 45 minutes the way I was taught.
I got you. All right. I just want to switch gears for just a little bit. We're kind of wrapping things up here pretty soon, but just kind of like switch back to like a get to know you type questions to just, stop with the philosophical educational questions here. What do you do for fun?
Oh, I do so much for fun. I love to garden, which I love digging in the dirt. I don't know why. It's peaceful. It's kind of like
therapeutic.
Yes, it is very therapeutic. It's like a kid with a sandbox.
Yep.
I like to exercise, and that takes so many different avenues. I love classes, because I think classes are fun and motivating.
What kind of classes? Do you go to any right now?
I like HIIT classes. Those are my favorite because they're high intensity.
Are you doing them anywhere now though?
On my phone in my house.
Okay. So you got an app. Okay. You got your own weight sets and stuff like that. Okay.
I do. Yeah. After COVID, I stopped going to gyms.
Yeah. A lot of people have.
Started doing my patio is my gym.
Okay.
Plus, I love being outside. Anything I do, if it's outside, I'm happy. Pretty much. I like to kayak. I like to paddleboard. We love the lake. So I go boating, anything that's outdoors, really.
All
hiking, climbing. I love all that kind of stuff.
All right, cool. Okay. So what are your biggest challenges that you have? And that can be life. They can be educational.
Traffic.
Yeah.
No, that is a big challenge. Every day, it's like I don't know what time to leave to get here at the same time every day. That's a challenge. Some other challenges.
Which side note, Night Nation, just so that you know, Melissa Rountree and I tend to leave our houses at the same time, and we also get home about the same time because we always see each other on Highway 46 at some point. So
that is the truth.
not by design, just by pure. Those are our schedules.
That is right. That's our schedules, and sometimes traffic throws that schedule off just a little, but we're okay. More challenges. I think one of the biggest challenges is changing with the world today.
Yeah.
Like being able to adapt. And I feel like I'm pretty adaptable. I feel more flexible now than I've ever been in my life. But it is challenging because kids are changing. I mean, they're changing drastically. And it's a challenge to kind of change with them and to go with where they're headed. You've got to really challenge yourself to open your mind and be willing to go the extra mile in their direction.
Yeah. And certainly, and the word that comes to mind when you said that is you have to allow yourself to, because the alternative is to stop and be your same self. But we cannot be so naive to know that the world around us in the last 2 years, the climate, and I don't mean climate, but the climate has completely changed.
Absolutely.
And if we as educators don't educate ourselves, right, then we cannot better serve today's kid.
Right.
You've been in education for 23 years. I've been in education for 15 years. And if we're teaching the same today that we taught when we first got started, we're a disservice to today's kid.
Oh, absolutely.
And in 5 and 10 years, we have to change and adapt to that style of teaching. I saw someone post on Facebook last night. I don't remember who it was, but they posted a picture of a study that a teacher decided to do with their kids. And every single time their cell phone got a notification, they kept a tally on a piece of paper on their desk. And within the class period and within the class day, they put them on the board. And it was like 1,600 and something.
Wow.
And they used the word interruptions. Kids were interrupted 1,687 or something like that times in a day from their phones. Okay, well, as teachers, we have to be aware of that, right? This is rhetorical, but like, what are we doing in our classrooms to do our best to prevent that? Like, what, you know what I mean? Like, in some teachers, you walk into their classroom and all the kids are like this.
Right.
And like, you walk into my class, kids might be on their phone, but it's because they're doing their journal and then they put it away because that's the way I do it. But it's like, and the teacher's still up there lecturing. It blows my mind how many times. But yes, you're right. We have to adapt. We have to change. Okay. So two more questions. Question is 2 parts. What is one thing that you struggle with as a teacher versus one thing that you absolutely feel confident in as a teacher?
Okay.
And you can start with the confident one if you want to. Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes the struggle. So.
Come on, pat yourself on the back.
I know. I don't know. I mean,
I know you're a good teacher.
What guess,
are you confident in? Like what's your A game?
My A game is, I mean, of course I know my stuff, but really I think teaching and giving them multiple different types of activities to try to engage every single student. So I think honestly, my talent, although this year it's changing just a little bit, but my talent and what I'm really good at is getting all the students engaged, getting everybody to participate, whether they want to or not.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That's tough. Eventually I get them to buy in and they will participate. As far as my biggest struggle goes, I think my biggest struggle as a teacher, gosh, it's the amount of work. I think that's my biggest struggle is not overworking myself, because I have to have everything perfect, and that puts a lot of pressure on me. I feel like I work nonstop. I work during every single lunch hour, and that's not good. That's not good.
So Melissa, let me ask you a question. I wasn't going to ask you this question, but I am now. When did I first ask you to be on this podcast?
At the beginning of school when we were doing remote.
Okay. So, and the reason why that brought up is because Melissa, I know that about you. You and I are both type A personality people. We work ourselves to death. We want to get it right. We want to be perfect. And for those of you listening, we were in remote learning, no kids on campus, podcast episode, probably number 2 or 3. And I reach out to Melissa. She's like, I'll do it next week. And then it went silent for a little while. And I sent her a text message and she agreed to do this. So first of all, thank you for actually agreeing to it at the end of the year, but we still got it done. But I've got one last remaining question for you. Every episode, I always like to give teachers a chance to, give a shout out, to give thanks to somebody that's in your corner, someone that you can lean on and rely on, that without that person on campus, you wouldn't be maybe the same teacher that you are, or same friend or colleague. So who is that one individual that you would like to give a shout out and give thanks to, and why?
My shout out goes to Keli Beck. She is always there, no matter what I need, no matter what's going on. She's always in my corner.
Well, Ms. Beck, thank you so much for being in her corner. Melissa, thank you for participating in this episode. It's always a pleasure getting time to talk with teachers and getting to know them. And we did that today. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for giving me some of your time when I know you type A perfectionist could have been doing something else, but you took an hour of your time to meet with me. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, and be blessed, and we'll talk to you soon.
You bet. Thank you for having me.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Keeping Up with the Knights. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure you subscribe and click the notification button so you know when the next episode is released, and then share it with your friends and colleagues. If you're so inclined to do so, would you please rate and review this podcast to help me grow our community of listeners? I hope there was something that you heard today that allowed you to connect outside the classroom. Now, more than ever, we need each other as a support system, and we need to continue to make this the best high school in the state of Texas. Thank you, Knight Nation. Now, go be someone's champion today.